Hi, I'm Gianluca Fiorelli and welcome back to the third session. Today we are going to talk to another person that when I will naming, you usually associate to news and SEO. But he didn't work only on news. He also has a long professional life and so everybody, especially in the beginning, work in any kind of industry. He is the CEO and founder of NewsDash and the G-Dash. G-Dash is a wonderful tool. We recommend it to you. Is also the founder of NES, the News and Editorial SEO Summit, and he worked in the past for Condé Nast and Disney. This person is a wonderful person, and his name is John Shehata. Shehata?
Shehata.
Shehata. Okay, perfect. How are you doing?
Hey, Gianluca, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Also, apart from NES, I know that you are very active organizing stuff
Yes.
around the world, like conferences, and I'm really bad with names. I know that you organize also something in Dubai.
Yes, we're
But I
putting
like the
Business Summit.
idea of how you're organizing it because when you go to the website, landing page of the event, it's not just like something where it's an event in Dubai. So all the people from the civilized world, like US, Europe, and so on, can have fun in Dubai. No, I like that it's meant for making people that usually are not going to events there because maybe events are not even organized
Yeah.
to receive, to see, be seen by people working in area. And I think this is a wonderful idea because it reminds me a lot of when in the past, I also did an event like the Inbounder,
Yeah.
which was meant to be an event to bring people, but usually you needed to go to the US or to the UK, here in Spain, and for all the people, especially from the Mediterranean countries. It was meant for having people from Spain visiting attendees from Italy, from Greece, from the Mediterranean and not the classic Central European. I mean, also a lot of attendees from the UK because UK people love to come and spend time in Spain. And I like it because I think it's also a remarkable way to expand the good SEO, especially in this new geography where SEO is always been done, but maybe because of this distance,
Yeah. No, absolutely.
maybe it wasn't really the good SEO, the one
Yeah.
that really people need to do.
Yeah. So since I started, I had a lot of people help me in my early career, right? It was like
Yeah.
I was a junior SEO. I didn't have much confidence in coming and presenting. And I had great managers that helped me and sent me to conferences. And then if you remember, SES was a huge
Oh, yes.
conference back then. Stephen Spencer's like, hey, John, you have to speak to Chris, the organizer. And they pushed me to speak. And I felt because of all this help and people sharing their knowledge in these conferences and helping me, I always felt, you know what? It was the greatest value I had is I want to share more knowledge with people that may not have easy access to this knowledge. So in
Yes.
my career in Disney and Condé Nast and so on, one of the biggest goals was like, how can I improve people's like careers? How can I empower them with more knowledge? And I, when I left Condé Nast, I had 100 people in my team. I was like, and one of the biggest things I was thankful for is empowering all these team members. In Disney, we did like conferences within Disney for all Disney marketing employees, and we bring like top speakers from outside and so on. So I carried this whole idea and value with me after I left in house and I became, solo entrepreneur and so on. So it started with NES, News and Editorial SEO Summit, which is a conference that I wanted to do for the longest time. But every
Mm.
time I go to all the big conferences and I say, hey, we want to do a conference for news, focus on SEOs. Nah, small, it's not big enough, very niche. So I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to fund this conference from my own pocket. And even if I lose, it's okay, but let's bring the community together. So I reached to Barry Adams and say, hey, I have this idea. I'm funding it. Would you love to help me organize it and so on?" I said, "Oh yeah, I love it. I really want to do this with you." So we put it together, and I think we were expecting 50 people in our first conference. If we get 50 people to attend this 1 day or 2 day conference, we had 7 speakers the first time. That will be amazing success. And we got like 400 people. There is a real community there. And then last October, we just did our fifth edition of the conference with 500 attendees. So sharing the knowledge, especially if you make it affordable and accessible, that's why I do it virtual. So we have 55 countries attending, right? So that's amazing. And this is where the idea came from for Visi Summit. Visibility Summit, or I call it Visi Summit, is like there is a lot of SEO conferences in United States. There is great conferences in Europe. But when you come to this area, the Middle East, and I'm originally from Asia, the Middle East area, there is not so many speakers from around the world that come to this area and share their knowledge, right? And I said, okay, what if I can bring the top speakers from the world, all over the world? So you have Alida from Spain and Mike King from US and Cindy from US and Bastian Grimm from Germany and Jess Scholz and Dan Petrovic from Australia and Bart from Poland. So let's bring all these amazing people in one place and let's see how it goes. So I said, okay, Dubai, it's the center. We can reach like the Middle East. We can reach parts of Asia. We had people coming to the conference from Japan, which was a surprise for me, and from India. So that's the whole idea. Just making sure we share knowledge in an affordable, accessible way.
Yeah, yes. Sharing, I mean, it's a stereotype, but sharing is caring. It was also, you remember the plugin, and I think that sharing and caring brings to now we slowly go into topic of SEO. It's also the way brands can have a positive impact in their benefits, but also in the benefits of the customers. And I had just one question before about you and your story as an SEO. What make you fall in love with news SEO?
So I know it's a crazy story, but I didn't start as an SEO, right? I started as a pharmacist. I had 1 year left as a pharmacist. And then I woke up one day and I said, I really hate chemistry and I don't know why I'm doing this. So I switched my major in college and I went to computer science. I became like a software engineer and I joined an agency where I developed the apps for the marketing and the SEO team. I was like, wow, this is amazing. What is this SEO? So this back in the days of Alta Vista, Yahoo directories, Lycos, and so on. And then slowly I fell in love with SEO. So I moved from coding to actual SEO. And then my first in-house job was in an SEO and the news organization was like local newspapers, 35 of them and sites. And I was like, and I started falling in love of it more and more because news SEO is like this hybrid thing between SEO and PPC. So with PPC, you see like immediate results, right? You do an ad, you see the results. And with SEO, there is all this like problem solving and optimizing so many different things. And news sits in the middle because you can work on news in real time and you can see the results of your work within minutes. Not, you have to wait 3, 4 months to see the results.
Yeah, yes, actually true because we think what is the most important thing for a newspaper to be the first news that people sees when searching about a breaking news.
Yeah.
And then obviously there is also the discover universe where always be in the stream of a user, depending on the taste of a user. So I never thought about this substantial hybrid nature of news SEO as between SEO in nature, but PPC in practice.
Yeah.
So very cool.
In
I
speed,
really
right?
like.
Like PPC and speed. There's like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
do
yeah,
the
yeah, yes.
work and if right away you can see, oh, like we optimize this, we change the headline, we see the results right away. So that was the beauty about news SEO specifically, right?
Mm, mm. And during, obviously, as everybody during this year that is 2025, with the explosion of AI, especially
Yeah.
of AI overview, first from Google, but then also with the new models of ChatGPT, the introduction of A mode, and Perplexity, less Claude because Claude is neat. In some
Yeah.
cases, there is more things for coders,
Focus
a
more on coding.
wonderful tool for working,
Yeah.
more for searching. And how was the evolution of the perception of the impact of AI in the news industry from one, let's say, when AI overview became an official
Yeah.
standard feature on search, and now with all these months passed, the perception of the how change it changed.
Yeah. So I think that I need to start by saying that news and technology, or news organization and technology, always had this kind of love hate kind of relationship, right? So
Mhm.
if you go back in time when there was like newspapers and the web started, and some news organization actually claimed that the web is just a fad. I think it's Daily Mail that this said, and it's just gonna go away. And let's focus more on news, print, and all that stuff, right? So it did took them some time to okay jump on the wagon. And then when classifieds became free with Craigslist, they were so upset, right? Because a lot of revenue was lost. And when bloggers started news and their own blogs that were not like professional journalists, they didn't like that as well. And same thing with radio and TV and all these different platforms, right? I think newspapers now recognize this is a pivotal moment. This is not like any other moment in time. So you have news organizations in like in between the spectrum of okay, this is really dangerous to our business and revenue models, and we have to fight it and not accommodate to it. And others is okay, let's go all in. I think that's more on the SEO side, right? Let's go all in. Let's change the name of SEO. Let's call it whatever name we want to call it. So you have the two extremes how SEOs in general deal with AI. When you come to AI overview and AI platforms, I believe that AI overview, I'm more concerned about AI overview than ChatGPT, for example, right? We see that ChatGPT, most of the people go there task oriented, looking for information and so on. And I think a recent study said that there's less than maybe 5% of users actually search for news or look for news using AI platforms. And the same study, I think there's another study by Similar Web said that 96% of all users who use ChatGPT still using Google. So it's not like ChatGPT took market share out of Google, right? So I'm concerned less with ChatGPT when it comes to news than AI overviews because AI overview, it comes before the news box or the top stories, right? And it's in the platform that people are actually using to search for news. Now, there are so many characteristics and triggers that will trigger AI overviews. But I think me and most of the news organization now, they taking the first step of actually tracking it to understand how does it function, when is it triggered, and what's the impact of it. I think that's the very first step in this process is tracking it to understand AI overviews impact the news a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. You're right because obviously, if a top news box is pushed down,
Yes.
especially people click on the expand button of the AI overview, people is getting blinded about the box and go below the fold, or even many
Especially,
many swipes.
yeah, especially
Could
on
you?
mobile, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because we sometimes we still think indexable, but then we should always first immediately on a mobile experience. And yes, I think it's right, but also because I talked with about this quite a few months ago with Barry exactly,
Yeah.
and when AI mode was starting, it was saying, yes, I'm more worried about AI overview than AI mode because AI mode is more conversational, whatsoever.
Yeah.
And but eventually, have you seen because w- how do if you can make because I know that you have done studies about
Yeah.
this, how news are treated inside
Yes.
AI overviews.
Yeah, we did a couple of studies, and I recently shared one as well, the updated data in Nest. And I don't know if you guys, anyone in London, was sharing more updated data on a couple of days, December 3rd. December 2nd if you're there. So it depends really on the news section. So let me explain how we track the data first, because I think it makes a huge difference. We track all the trending news queries in whatever market, US, Spain, UK, right? And we track these trending queries, news queries every 15 minutes. And for every trending news query, we track the rankings, right? Who is ranking in the SERPs and the news bots and organic perspectives. People also ask, and an AI overview. And we noticed that it really, the visibility of the frequency of AI overviews above the news box or the top stories, it differs drastically by the news sector. So just to give you an idea, in US, for major breaking news, right, and trending news, right, something really big, millions of people are searching for it, or it's a political nature and stuff like this, we have seen AI overview range anywhere from 3 to 5%, which means that 3 to 5% of all the big trends and breaking news might trigger an AI overview. So Google is very shy actually in introducing AI overview on these kind of like big trends and sensitive topics in general. But when you look at something like health, and in health, it's like really crazy, right? It's 50%, about 40 to 50% of all the health trending queries, Google AI overview will be there, which means like 5 out of every 10 queries, or 1 in 2 of every trending health query will trigger AI overview. Sports, for example, will be a little bit less, right? Sports is about like 18%. So it differs tremendously and drastically by section. So I usually tell news organizations, segment your content by the news sections, see how AI overview frequency for that section, and see the impact. Did you lose traffic because of AI overviews for that specific section in correlation to the frequency of AI overview there? But I think this is the very first step. And then the second question is, okay, do we need to produce 300 articles about that specific section? Or should we maybe produce less and allocate more resources into other sections that have less impact? So this is a business question, an editorial question, and so on. But it all starts with measuring and knowing the frequency of AI overview versus your content.
Indeed, and when you were talking about the case of health queries, and I was remembering the very beginning of the very first announcement of Google about AI overview, and say, yeah, AI overview will not be triggered for your money, your life queries. And now results that because also Advanced Web Ranking, which is our guest for our third session, recently presented the CTR study, and it says AI overview, where is the more present? Uh, I cannot say the word, the acronym, because we are in video, in audio, but you know what everybody's thinking. Google, what are you doing? But anyway, there is another place where I mean, Google is really pushing the bar now. And it's a classic. It's a place where, again, citing the conversation I had with Barry, he was, but I'm still confident that Google wouldn't push AI into this surface and this discover. We have started seeing some tests of using AI. This is the first change, but it's still a test. But what we have seen pushing, and I remember I was commenting to a post that you wrote on LinkedIn. I said, yes,
Yeah.
I'm starting for the first time in X years to see traffic from Discover because of Twitter, of X. So also the social stream as it was starting before, also with some shorts, etc., etc., etc. So how these changes on Discover are about Google is shaping Discover are taken by the newsroom in order
Yeah.
to take advantage.
So in 2018, Google started an experiment about Google Discover. And Google has been trying to get into social for so many years. There are so many other failed experiments that they had. And Discover, they just started. And I remember in 2018, I was speaking with Google engineers and they were like telling us about this new experiment. And back then, Google Discover actually was built on RSS feeds provided by sites. So I think I was the second or third site in Google Discover, and I worked with them since then when it was like RSS feeds. Since then, Google Discover has become the biggest traffic driver for news publishers. So if you look a little bit beyond 2018, or sorry, before 2018, Facebook was like, it started growing in traffic and sending so much traffic to news publishers to a certain point where actually Facebook was sending 50% of the traffic was more than Google. And then in 2018, family and friends algorithm hit in Facebook, and the traffic from Facebook started dropping, dropping, dropping. Now the drop is almost like 90%. So Facebook and social maybe for most of the publishers bring maybe anywhere from 10 to 15%. At that moment, Google Discover start like rising up to the point that it now surpasses all the other channels, right? If you look at the Google Pie, Google Discover sends about 67% on average of all Google traffic. And search or web in general now sends about 29%. So for every visit you get from search, you get two visits from Discover. So it's huge for publishers. It's great, but at the same time, a very dangerous situation to be in. As of AI overviews in Google Discover, it's still very shy. You see it every once here and there, it does make sense for AI overviews to come in Google Discover. It's a highly personalized experience. AI overview can give a lot of like summaries and stuff like this. But if AI overviews will come into Google Discover, will this hurt the traffic that publishers are getting from Google Discover? And this is like the last straw, right? A lot of publishers depend on Google Discover now. Does Google want to get there, upset more publishers or not? What's the impact? So we don't know yet the full effect because it's still a very small experiment.
Yes, because I mean, if I have to use an AI overview on something like Discover, for me would be like moving from reading, let's say, the New York Times to the classic Metro newspaper where it's just the title
Yeah.
and three lines. I think that we also must consider. I don't want to be the Google advocate, but we must also consider how much the reading behavior has changed
Yes.
for the user, and the younger generation don't read. So that format is perfect for them. It's a TikTok format without video, but it's a TikTok format. Maybe can be something like this. I don't know. I don't know if maybe Google will try to instead of using really AI overview, trying to bring something like experimenting with web guide. So something like instead of presenting the news with image, but with the Gemini summarization of the news below the title.
Yep. I think it depends. Like, if you're in search, it really depends on the query, right? Because if you're telling me like, hey, I want to see what happened in that area, the war, the conflict, and stuff like this, and Google gives you all the news. But if I go there and search for, can you give me the TLDR, the summary, what's going on? Okay, what is, and so on. So Google understand you're not really looking for news articles to go and read. You want just the summary, right? So a lot of times it depends on the query. What's the intent of the user? And you're absolutely right. You have newer generations with more focus on like video, short video snippets, visual cards. Google Discover works very well for this kind of audience, right? So it's the newer reality we have, right? We need to accept that the benchmark for traffic that's going to websites will only continue to go lower, right? I'm not saying it's going to disappear, but it's a new reality, right? So visibility is like SEO is a single channel or Google is a single channel per se. Publishers and sites in general need to focus on how they can bring visibility to all different channels that they can work on. You said you're getting traffic from Twitter, right? So now I like to give this, if you don't mind, the Thanksgiving approach. So yesterday was Thanksgiving, right? You do a big turkey, right? Full meal. And then there's a lot of leftovers, right? You don't throw them in the garbage. You take them, and you make sandwiches and lunch boxes and different meals. So you take this podcast, this is the main content. And I always tell publishers, your main product is the content. It doesn't matter what the medium is. Yesterday it was on paper, today is on a website, tomorrow it could be a hologram. And so you take that content, you take that podcast, and you slice it and dice it to fit all the different formats and channels to bring visibility to the content, regardless what the medium is. So this is my approach to content in general, regardless what the medium is.
Oh, no, yeah, yes. It's what I maybe how, because of the influence of the country where I live, Spain, it's what I call the pork strategy. In Spain, pork is somehow a divinity because they use it for the jamon, they use it for doing everything. Actually, you recycle the pork for everything, even for,
Yeah.
I'm a mini painter for making brushes. You
Yep.
use the pork. So yes, I totally agree with you with the nature of repurposing. But what I was thinking, for instance, in the case of using, in this case, it's X post, and also I wanted to connect to entity. So the journalist, let's say the columnist of a prestigious newspaper, but also the journalist of a niche publication which is specialized, very specialized about a single topic. How much they should, because it's not something that you see so frequently still in the news sector. And maybe it's not in the US, but certainly not here in Spain or in Italy, where journalists have their own social profile, but they talk about as they are themselves, as the person, not as the journalist of. How much the news publisher should start thinking to their journalist, at least the top journalist, as their, not only as a journalist, but also as content creator in the context of a creator economy.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a name I wanna get you. So here, let me get you the name because, okay. So the Atlantic, the CEO of the Atlantic, right? Nicholas Thompson. Okay. So I worked with him closely back in Condé Nast, where he started, is like we were speaking and he started doing the LinkedIn videos, like what's happening today. And very simple videos, right? It's 1 minute, and all what he shared is this is what's happening in the technology sphere today. And it grows so big now, right? He has hundreds of thousands of followers and so on. So he started small, right? Just tapping into this. So I think the first step is you need to start. Michael Kingler just starting Instagram videos now, and he's saying, "Oh, we're too old. Maybe that's why we're not doing it. I'm gonna start," and I'm guilty of that as well. But when we talk about the news organization, we're not saying that everyone in the news organization need to be a creator. But the news organization, I wrote an article about that. And I said the first step is you need to identify who has the appetite to do that, who is already vocal on social media and sharing content and so on, and empower these kind of users, right? I think this is the first step. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are some of your creator, journalists, and writers already have some presence. Start empowering them, train them, see what they need. The other thing also is you need to start thinking of the hiring process, right? Because content is not only the written format, there's now the visual, video, and audio format. Who are the creators out there that have good reputation, right? Reliable, that you can bring them to your news organization. So that's a second step. And then slowly see what topics that your organization can cover in different formats. CNN is creating the creators group, The Wired now. 8 years ago in Condé Nast, I presented this idea and say, hey, we need to make more of our writers as creators. The idea was shut down. There was this fear that, hey, if we empower all these creators and writers and journalists, what happened when they leave us? I think news organizations and beyond this now already, but Wired now, 94% jump in subscriptions because of the creators that they empower. So it definitely benefits the organizations overall.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. totally believe in this also because I see outside of the news industry, of the publishing industry, when brands can find advocate inside the company can be sometimes maybe it's not a good idea to have a CEO because maybe you have a CEO like Elon Musk. Better not to have someone like Elon Musk
Yeah.
doing the branding for you. But let's say people that usually can be also relatable to the public, not too big, not too, but someone you can relate to, your customer can relate to. And I saw very big success in these kind of things because people then go to your brand, to your website, because there is this person. And related to the fear of people, okay, what we do when journalists go from newspaper A to newspaper B to the competition, for instance. I mean, this is life. I mean, you cannot do anything, but what you can do is this guy started with us. It's the alumni philosophy. So where these people started. So I think that this can be somehow a way to use still the old content as a way to make people come and to establish the brand. If you quit just talking in very specific semantic search term, if we quit all the boundaries from that entity that is so important, you are losing all the benefits that entity was bringing to you. You maintain it even if it's just in an archive or something like this. But if you put it in evidence, you are still receiving the benefit of what it's doing now it is not working with you anymore.
Yeah, and Gianluca, if you think about it, this applies to all aspects, regardless if it's a creator or not. If you have an amazing writer writing
Mhm.
for you, right? Let's say you're New York Times and you have this writer, and people like because people connect with people, regardless what's the meat, right?
Exactly.
So I'm reading New York Times and the first page I open is this opinion piece by this writer. If this writer leaves and go to another organization, I'm still following this writer. So it's not only about creators on social media that they leave and they take their readers with them. It's true for anything.
Yes.
People follow people, people connect with people. And that's why we see more and more organizations, even SEO big tool companies and big organizations now have ambassadors or have
Mhm.
faces, right? Because this person, I love what Ahrefs does with Tom. Tom is in a way the face of the company. He shares, he talks, he expresses his opinions, right? And now Ahrefs is somehow associated with Tom. When you think of Tom, you think of Ahrefs. When you think of Ahrefs, you think of Tom. And this applies to many other companies, right? Just the example came to my mind. So I think it's healthy to have a face so people can connect with your company or brand or entity through this face. You know, when I think of Gianluca, I think of brand A or B, right? And I think of this brand A, I think of Gianluca as well.
Yeah, yes, totally, totally. And let's talk about the classic question when it comes to news and AI, especially when it comes to, because in the case of Google, it's impossible to have this kind of choice. But for LLMs like ChatGPT, especially ChatGPT, let's talk just about the ChatGPT. To block or not to block, this is the question, like Hamlet. Because maybe if you are a really big publisher or a big publisher with a lot of news website, even if they are small website, but you are big conglomerate or small news website, maybe you can find the classic deal. So I let you use my content in change jobs, but it's not always so possible. I cannot imagine the small news website of a specific, I don't know, little town in Scotland able to negotiate something like this. So let's say for all the big long tail of news publisher, if it was you, was someone approaching you, one of these, what would you suggest to do to this athletic question?
Yeah, I think we have to start by differentiating that there is two types of crawlers when it
Yeah.
comes to AI platforms, right? There's crawlers or what we call the training scrapers or training bots, right? These are the ones that are used to gather vast amount of information, public content, to train and improve the core LLM models. So you have, for example, GPT bots, you have Claude bots, you have Google Extended, and so on, right? So this is one kind of AI platforms scraping and crawling. The other one, what we call like live retrieval fetchers or on-demand scrapers, right? So you go to ChatGPT, you ask a question, ChatGPT determines that this kind of question needs retrieval of fresh data. So they put their crawlers out there, they get the answers, they synthesize all the results, and then they give you an answer. So these are two different things. I think, in my opinion, that you should definitely block the training scrapers unless you have a deal as a single organization or as a part of unified group of news organizations with these kind of companies, right? Hey, you want to train your data on Reddit, you want to train your data on New York Times, you want to train your data on my small niche content, you have to pay. But I think you should allow live retrieval fetchers. When I ask a question about what is the best so and so, or what is the latest here, and ChatGPT go and fetch all the latest news articles, and they link back to them most of the time or sometimes, I think you should allow that. You need to be visible in this kind of situations because the first scenario, when it's all really training data, very rare instance of actually any citations or resources or links sent back to where the content was trained. It's becoming a big one thing of trained model data. So I think it's case by case. If you're a news organization, my advice is you have to join a bigger organization, not like structurally, but like in negotiating these kind of deals. Because ChatGPT rather have a big, deals with like big news organizations or with a group of organizations. Hey, we are a group of 50 publishers and we want to negotiate with you. I think that gives you better leverage. Or go sue them. There are some
Yeah,
news organizations.
everybody is doing now with
Yeah, yeah,
perplexity.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And this might give you the leverage.
Yeah. So let's talk about 2026.
Yeah.
What is the thing that you you're feeling in your gut that is going to happen in the news sector? And what is the news that you are waiting with positive mind? And what is the news that you wouldn't like to read at all
Yeah.
regarding to news and SEO in 2026?
Sure, absolutely. I think on the SEO level, I'm hoping and expecting that more countries will have regulations about how AI process and collect content and produce content to users. I like what Europe is doing in general in regard to privacy laws and regulations and so on. So I'm hoping that there will be more regulations that protect content owners and reward them for their hard work. So this is on one side. I'm very excited also about if you think about it, there are certain tasks in SEOs that used to take us like hours or weeks. Now with the advancement of AI and MCPs and all these kind of connections that we have, a lot of things we can do and you create the workflow, you optimize it and you get all the data, right? So I keep thinking of us, we are evolving from, instrument players to maestros and composers, right? You no longer have to go and do keyword research and collect data and download Excel sheets and filter them, right? Now you might be building a workflow and making sure it's accurate and it's collecting the right data. So you are a composer of coming up with ideas, how to create different workflows that benefits your brand and business and so on. And at the same time, a maestro, I'm going to collect the data from here, connect it to this source here and so on. So we're moving from instrument players to maestros and composers. So this is on the positive side of things. On the negative side of things, right, we have to agree that with technological advances, some jobs are always lost, right? They're not lost forever because usually there are shifts, hey, you used to do this job is gone, but another opportunity is opening up. So I think about, the generation right now in school or just graduated from college that are not yet prepared for this new reality. I feel like I'm in school. There is new stuff every day and I'm trying to catch up. It's like I'm going and I'm writing notes, I'm testing and I'm following smarter people than me. And I was like, okay, what they're talking about. So I'm worried about the jobs that will be lost in the process, right? Till we like evolve, a lot of entry jobs will be lost, which makes me think if there's no entry jobs, how you become a senior in your job if you never become an entry job kind of a thing, right? So there are going to be the pros and cons for any kind of evolution, especially in a very fast accelerated evolution of AI that we see.
Yeah, yeah, yes. I'm totally feel like a student. And yes, it's a common sensation because all the people around our generation of many, many years working is basically telling the same. Many even says that I was almost have a disillusion with SEO because it was something commoditized, not really something new. It was, that you do A and then you do B and you go to C. Yes, there are sometimes these updates, but if you have done everything fine, the updates are not even touching. And this revolutionized everything. And so you feel young again, like a super having drink a monster, and you feel energized and you feel. And for me, it's not even somehow a contradiction. The fact that even if there are wonderful young SEO that are working and sharing things about everything we are talking about AI and LLMs, how to work, how to optimize, etc., etc. But sometimes the most interesting things are coming from people who are more considered, let's call it senior SEO. I think of Duane Forrester. I think Dan Petrovic is, even if he's really young, Dan still is 20 years already working. Mike, another guy that is young still, but I remember 20 years ago, it was already working. So people that are seasoned in this work maybe are even the ones that are presenting the most interesting things because of this new energy that we are
Yeah.
feeling and that make us remember when we were younger and we not as you and me,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
wild bird. So let's stop talking about AI, SEO, and news. Let's talk about you. We
Sure.
have talked about the Dubai event, and but I want to. You are from Egypt, right?
Say again.
Where you were born?
Where am I right now?
Yeah, yeah. No, no. You're now in the States, nice.
Yes.
But your family is from.
Oh, I'm originally from Egypt, but I have been in the States for many years now, like almost 3 decades now.
Well, like me, I'm Italian, but it's almost 3 decades that I'm in Spain. But what I'm curious, what part of Egypt? Because I love Egypt.
Sure. I was born in Alexandria, Egypt.
Ooh.
So it's Mediterranean. It's more or less like Italy,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
believe
no,
it or
yeah,
not.
but yes.
Yeah,
I'm in Valencia, so you are exactly in the opposite side.
we're neighbors if we're like the opposite
Yeah,
side.
yes, if it was
Yeah.
just yeah.
Yeah, when I went to Italy, it's funny because I felt like I'm back in Alexandria because Alexandria is like you have Italian and Greek and so on came and stayed there for a long time. So you still have some Italian restaurants and architecture and stuff like this. So when I visited Italy, it was like amazing. Wow, it gives you like the feel of I'm still in Alexandria somehow.
What do you miss of Egypt?
I'm sorry.
What do you miss of your own country?
I think I miss the food a lot.
Oh,
The people, but now it's I think I lived in the States more than I lived in Egypt. So it's like
mm,
you build new friends and stuff like this, right? But the food and every country has its own flavor of culture,
yeah.
right? There is no wrong or right, but it's every you go visit a country and you see that part of the culture and you like it, and so it's a mix of many things. That's why I try as much as I can go back and visit.
Yes, and it's something that I also would like to do and already visited Egypt 3 times.
Oh, you
And
did
I would
already
like
3 times?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yes.
nice.
I mean, personally, I think I always says that the most beautiful experience I had in my life in terms of art my sons, about my wife,
Yeah.
family, is navigating in the Nasser Lake, landing in the boat in deep night. I never saw so many stars.
Yeah.
And arriving to Abu Simbel
Oh,
in the deep of the night. So with just the statue of Ramses illuminated, nothing else,
yeah.
and the stars. It was, I mean, I was feeling, the impact of a classic Stendhal syndrome, where you
Yeah.
have too much beauty, but you cannot stand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was so. Yes, I would love to return.
You have to
But
go visit the new museum that they opened. So
yeah,
this
yeah,
the
that's another
largest.
excuse. Because I have to
Yeah.
excuse because all the times I was never able to visit the Hatshepsut
Oh,
tomb, and then now the new museum.
yeah. It's gonna be beautiful. I'm also planning, hopefully, a visit sometime soon to go see the new museum.
Yeah, thank you, John. It was really a pleasure for me to have you as my guest here at the third session. Let's hope, but maybe we can do one day a new episode, maybe combining people like the two the two SEO guys, you and Barry together,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
talking again about what's happening.
Gianluca, thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm glad this is the first time actually we connect, which
Yeah,
is like, we have been in
weird.
the industry for too long, but hey, it's never too late. But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you to you because you have listened to a wonderful guest. John is surely someone to follow. And do me a favor, follow also the channel, subscribe, and ring of the bell so you will be notified whenever a new fantastic episode of a search session is coming out. Thank you.